Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Rabiuddin.
My name is Elsa Filia.
My name is Herli Monica Sindianta. We are from Group 4.
We would like to present our material today
By the topic
Goals, Content, and Sequencing.
The aim of this part of the curriculum design process is to make a list of the items to teach in the order in which they will be taught. The goals of a language lesson can focus on one or more of the following: language, ideas, skills, or tasks. It is possible to plan or evaluate the content of courses by looking at each of these four areas. Within each of these four areas, choices have to be made regarding the units for planning and checking the course. For example, in the area of language, the units may be based on vocabulary, verbs, forms, and verb patterns, sentence patterns, or language functions. The next is the units of progression in the course. The units of progression in a course are the items that are used to grade the progress of the course. And then, the units of progressions can be classified into two types. There is progress in a definite series, such as vocabulary levels, and represent a veil of knowledge, such as topics. What will the progression be used for? So far, we have looked at designing a course as the aim for deciding on the units of progression in a course. However, unit of progression can be used for a variety of purposes. Number 1, unit of progression can be used to set targets and path to those targets. Number 2, units of progression can be used to check the adequacy of selection and ordering in a course. Number 3, units of progression can be used to monitor and report on learner progress and achievement in the course. The next is vocabulary, grammar, functions, and discourse. In a vocabulary, the research shows strongly the value of ensuring that learners have good control of the high-frequency vocabulary of the language. In a grammar, there are several frequency counts of verb from usage in English which can act as the basis for the selection and sequencing of items in a course. In a functions, there is no standard list of language functions that is accompanied by frequency data. And the last, discourse. Discourse as the basis for unit of progression is more likely to be used in pre-university courses where learners systematically cover a range of relevant genres such as recount, information reports, and arguments.
skills, sub-skills, and strategies. Some courses use skills and sub-skills as their units of progression. Reading course, for example, might focus on skills such as finding the main idea, reading for detail, note-taking, skimming, and reading faster, and reading for inferences. Here are three major ways of defining sub-skills. One is to look at the range of activities covered by a skill such as speaking and to use this as a starting point for defining sub-skills. For example, speaking can be divided into interactional speaking and transactional speaking. Transactional speaking can be divided into monologue, dialogue, and etc. Another way is to look at the skill as a process and to divide it into the parts of the process. This is a typical way of approaching writing. dividing the writing process into parts. One possible division of the process is number 1, having a model of the reader, number 2, having writing goals, number 3, gathering ideas, number 4, organizing ideas, number 5, turning ideas into written text, number 6, reviewing what has just been written, and the last, number 7, editing the written text. Process divisions can be applied another skills. A third way of defining up a skill is to use levels of cognitive activity. The most well-known approach of this kind can be found in what is popularly known as Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom divides cognitive activity into 6 levels of increasing complexity. Number 1, knowledge. Number 2, comprehension. Number 3, application. Number 4, analysis. Number 5, synthesis. And the last, evaluation. Okay, next. Ideas. A good language course not only develops the learner's control of the language but also puts the learners in contact with ideas that help the learning of language and are useful to the learners. The ideas content of a course can be about number 1, imaginary happenings, number 2, an academic subject, number 3, learner survival need, number 4, interesting fact, number 5, culture. The ideas content of the course helps learning in the classroom because number 1, the ideas content makes the learners interested and motivated in their study of the language. Number 2, the ideas content encourages normal language use. That is, it involves ideas that can be talked about in a natural way in the classroom. Number 3, it makes learning easier because the ideas are already familiar to the learners and they can thus give full attention to language items. Number 4, the ideas content is familiar to the teacher and thus allow the teacher to work from a position of strength. For example, teacher of ESP course in agriculture who are not trained in agriculture work from a position of weakness.
Task-based syllabus. With the shift to communicative language teaching in the 1917, there was an increasing emphasis on using language to convey a message, and as a result, increasing attention was given to the use of text in the classroom. The realization that many so-called communicative language courses were still largely based upon a sequence of language from in turn generate interest in task-based rather than task-support syllabus. The next, sequencing the content in a course. The lesson or units of a course can fit together in a variety of ways. The two major divisions are whether the material in one lesson depends on the learning that has occurred in previous lesson, or whether each lesson is separate from the other so that the lesson can be done in any order and need not all be done. And then, linear approach to sequencing. Most language courses involve learning development beginning with simple frequent items that prepare for later more complex items, and a modular approach to sequencing. We have been looking at linear approach to sequencing and ways of ensuring repetition within a learner's approach. The second major type of approach, a modular approach, breaks a course into independent learner units. These units may be part of lesson or group of lesson These units may be parts of lesson or group of lesson. Each unit or module incomplete in itself and does not usually assume knowledge of previous module.
The last summary of the steps. Number 1. Describe the goals of the course. Number 2. Decide on the unit of progression for the course. Number 3. Choose and sequence the content of the course. Number 4. Check the content against list of other items to ensure coverage.